New at 5 leaders talked about something they have focused on for months. They said this focus is on people's concerns about safety and security in downtown Dayton. News Center 7's John Bedell looked through the recommendations they sent to city commissioners for potential changes.
On February 10, 2025, Millicent Avenue, Dayton, Ohio. A neighbor received a knock at the door. Two girls, ages 9 and 14, were standing outside. Their mother had just been shot. Dayton police responded and found Matika Brown, 34, deceased in her bedroom. She had been shot 3 times. The shooter had entered the home through a window, disabled the surveillance cameras inside, and then opened fire. He was gone before officers arrived. His name was Tony Jackson Jr., 32. He was Matika Brown's ex-boyfriend. He was arrested in West Dayton 4 hours later and booked into Montgomery County Jail on suspicion of murder. Bail was set at $3 million. The record on Jackson was not thin. In 2019, he and 2 accomplices robbed a Dayton pawn shop at gunpoint, stole 29 firearms, and pistol-whipped an employee. He was convicted and sentenced to 5 to 7.5 years. In August 2024, the Ohio Parole Authority released him early under a special program. The Montgomery County Prosecutor's Office was not notified and had no input in that decision. 3 months after his release, Jackson strangled Matika Brown. He was arrested and charged with felony strangulation, domestic violence, and aggravated menacing. A Montgomery County grand jury declined to indict. The charges were dismissed. Jackson was released from custody on January 26, 2025. 15 days later, Matika Brown was dead. Jackson eventually pleaded guilty to 1 count of aggravated murder. He was sentenced to a minimum of 27 years before parole eligibility. This is the complete story. Every action, every chilling detail. Welcome to Everyday True Crime. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a case. Stay with us for more gripping investigations and raw true crime stories delivered daily. Now let's dive in.
I don't understand that, because after he did what he did to my daughter in October, he should not have been home. If he was not home, he would not have had the opportunity to do this. There's some justice, but because he's behind bars. But 27 years is not enough.
Matika Brown was a 34-year-old African-American woman living at 2900 Millicent Avenue in West Dayton, Ohio, a working-class residential neighborhood in Montgomery County. She was raising 2 daughters at that address. At the time of her death, the girls were 9 and 14 years old. Matika's mother, Melinda Grissom, maintained a close relationship with her daughter and would later appear before a judge at sentencing to address the court directly. Matika had been in a relationship with Tony Eugene Jackson Jr. for an extended period, long enough that her daughters referred to him as their stepfather. Jackson was not their biological father. He had, however, been a consistent presence in their home. At some point before February 2025, Matika had ended the relationship. She had moved on and was seeing a new man. Jackson was aware of this. Tony Eugene Jackson Jr. was born on September 11, 1992, in Dayton, Ohio. His documented criminal history begins with a violent felony committed in 2019. On August 29, 2019, Jackson and at least 2 accomplices, including a man named Sean Chappell, carried out an armed robbery at the Ohio Loan Company pawn shop at 1171 West 3rd Street in Dayton. The robbery occurred at approximately 12:35 p.m. The men entered with guns drawn, their faces concealed with hoods and jackets. One of the robbers fired shots inside the store. An employee was pistol-whipped. The men stole 29 handguns, cash, and jewelry before fleeing in a gold 4-door Chevrolet sedan. The theft of 29 firearms from a licensed dealer introduced those weapons directly into public circulation in Dayton. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives and the National Shooting Sports Foundation offered a combined reward of $5,000 for information leading to arrests. The case broke open through forensics. During the robbery, 2 suspects cut themselves on shattered display glass. Law enforcement collected blood from the scene and submitted it to the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation. The BCI report identified Tony Jackson and Sean Chappell as the only two individuals with DNA present. Jackson and Chappell were arrested on January 29, 2020, by a joint operation of U.S. Marshals and Dayton Police. In February 2020, a Montgomery County grand jury indicted both men on 2 counts of aggravated robbery, 4 counts of kidnapping, and accompanying firearm specifications. Jackson was convicted and sentenced to prison. He was sent to the Southeastern Correctional Institution in Lancaster, Ohio. The conviction classified him as a violent felon. Under federal and state law, he was prohibited from carrying or possessing any firearm from that point forward. In August 2024, after serving approximately 4 years, Jackson was released from prison under a special program administered by the Ohio Parole Authority. The Montgomery County Prosecutor's Office was not consulted and was given no input into the decision. He was placed on post-release control. 2 months after his release, in October 2024, Jackson was arrested in connection with the strangulation of Matika Brown. Charges filed in Dayton Municipal Court included felony strangulation, misdemeanor assault, aggravated menacing, and domestic violence. He was booked on October 28, 2024. The strangulation case was subsequently presented to a Montgomery County grand jury. The grand jury declined to indict on the felony strangulation charge. Jackson served approximately 3 months in custody. He was released on January 26, 2025. Non-fatal strangulation in a domestic violence context is not a minor charge. It is a documented statistical predictor of future lethal violence. Studies consistently identify prior strangulation as one of the strongest indicators that an abuser will eventually kill their victim. Jackson had strangled Matika Brown in October 2024. The system returned him to the street in January 2025. No one from the parole authority or the prosecutor's office appears to have issued any formal safety notification to Matika Brown upon his release. When Jackson arrived at Matika's home on the night of February 9, 2025, she was not alone. She had a new boyfriend present. Jackson came to the door, saw the other man, and left. He did not go to another location. He waited. After Matika's new boyfriend left the residence, Jackson returned. Matika and her 2 daughters were now alone in the house. Jackson did not knock when he came back. He entered 2900 Millicent Avenue by breaking in through a window. Once inside, he located and unplugged multiple surveillance cameras positioned throughout the home. This required knowledge of the camera's locations, information that indicates prior familiarity with the interior of the house. Disabling the cameras before committing the crime is legally significant. It establishes deliberation. It rules out a crime of impulse. Under Ohio law, this is material to the distinction between murder and aggravated murder, the latter requiring prior calculation and design. After disabling the cameras, Jackson went upstairs. He located Matika Brown and her 2 daughters. He pointed a firearm at all 3 of them. The daughters ran. Jackson fired. A court affidavit filed in Dayton Municipal Court states, during the burglary, Jackson shot Brown in the presence of one of her children, initially injuring Brown. One of the daughters, attempting to flee, turned back. She witnessed her mother being shot. The affidavit continues. While Brown's child escaped the residence, Jackson shot Brown again, fatally wounding her. Matika Brown was shot 3 times. She was killed in her bedroom. Her daughters ran out of the front door and across the street. They reached the home of a neighbor. The neighbor called 911. The transcript of that call, as reported in local news coverage, includes the neighbor telling the dispatcher, "Neighbors from across the street ran to my house saying they got someone that's in their house shootin'." Dayton police responded to the 2900 block of Millicent Avenue at approximately 2:20 a.m. on February 10, 2025. Officers located Matika Brown's body in her bedroom. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Tony Jackson had fled the residence after the shooting. He did not have the firearm on him when officers located him. He was found in West Dayton and taken into custody. He was booked into the Montgomery County Jail at 6:24 a.m. on February 10, 2025. His booking number was 25-001632. On February 11, 2025, the Dayton Police Department held a press conference. The primary spokesperson was Major Brian Johns. Johns confirmed the following on record. Jackson was well known to law enforcement. He and Matika Brown had been in a prior relationship. He was not the biological father of the children, though they called him their stepfather. He had been arrested for strangulation of Brown in October 2024. He was on parole at the time of the shooting and was not legally permitted to carry a firearm. The evidence collected at the scene included documentation of the disabled surveillance cameras, a court affidavit detailing the sequence and circumstances of the shooting, and records establishing Jackson's status as a prohibited person in possession of a firearm. His active post-release control status added an additional basis for sentencing enhancement. On or around February 20, 2025, a Montgomery County grand jury formally indicted Tony Eugene Jackson Jr. on 11 felony counts: 2 counts of aggravated murder, 3 counts of murder, 2 counts of aggravated burglary, 2 counts of felonious assault, 1 count of tampering with evidence, and 1 count of having weapons while under disability. Jackson was held on a $3 million cash bond. His arraignment was set for February 25, 2025. Montgomery County Prosecutor Matt Heck Jr. issued a public statement connecting the case directly to the failures that preceded it. Specifically, the early release from prison without prosecutorial input, and the grand jury's October 2024 decision not to indict Jackson for felony strangulation. Jackson remained in custody at the Montgomery County Jail from February 2025 through the resolution of his case. Legal proceedings continued for approximately 7 months. During that period, Jackson's defense attorneys entered into plea negotiations with the prosecutor's office. On September 2, 2025, Tony Eugene Jackson Jr. appeared in Montgomery County Common Pleas Court and entered a guilty plea to 1 count of aggravated murder. Under the terms of the plea agreement, all remaining 10 charges were dismissed, including the 2nd count of aggravated murder, 3 counts of murder, both counts of aggravated burglary, both counts of felonious assault, the tampering with evidence charge, and the weapons disability charge. The plea agreement set a base sentence of 20 years to life in prison. A trial was avoided. On September 16, 2025, Jackson appeared in court for sentencing. The judge imposed the following: 20 years to life as the base sentence, a mandatory 3-year gun specification for using a firearm in the commission of the crime, and an additional 4 years for committing the offense while on post-release control. Jackson was also ordered to serve 1,623 additional days, the remaining time on his original post-release control term, consecutive to the new sentence. Under the terms of the sentence, Tony Eugene Jackson Jr. is not eligible for parole consideration for a minimum of 27 years. At the sentencing hearing, Matika Brown's mother, Melinda Grissom, addressed the court. Her statement, as reported by WHIO News Center 7, included the following: "There is some justice because he's behind bars, but 27 years is not enough. It's not. He'll still be kind of young when he gets out. My daughter, she won't be here." She also stated, "I don't understand that because after he did what he did to my daughter in October, he should not have been home. If he was not at home, he would not have had the opportunity to do this." The record in this case documents 4 distinct points at which the system intervened in Tony Jackson's trajectory, and 4 points at which that intervention fell short of preventing Matika Brown's death. First, Jackson's 2020 conviction for armed robbery and kidnapping resulted in a prison sentence. He served approximately 4 years before being released under a special program in August 2024. The prosecutor's office was not consulted. Second, within 2 months of his release, Jackson strangled Matika Brown. He was arrested in October 2024. A Montgomery County grand jury declined to indict him on the felony strangulation charge. The charge was dismissed. Third, Jackson served approximately 3 months following the strangulation arrest and was released on January 26, 2025. There is no public record indicating that Matika Brown received formal notification of his release or a safety plan. Fourth, Jackson was on post-release control at the time of the murder, meaning he was under active supervision. He violated the conditions of that supervision by possessing a firearm and committing murder. The supervision did not prevent either. The state of Ohio recorded 157 domestic violence-related fatalities in 2025, a 37% increase from 2024. Of those, 84 involved firearms. Matika Brown is one of those 157. Matika Brown, 34, was killed in her home at 2900 Millicent Avenue, Dayton, Ohio, on February 10, 2025, at approximately 2:20 a.m. She was shot 3 times by Tony Eugene Jackson Jr., her former boyfriend, who had entered the residence through a window after disabling the home's surveillance cameras. Her 2 daughters, ages 9 and 14, were present. They fled and survived. Jackson was arrested the same morning. He was indicted on 11 felony counts. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of aggravated murder on September 2, 2025. He was sentenced to a minimum of 27 years before parole eligibility on September 16, 2025. If this story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.